Valve recently announced that they are going to be making their own console and entering into the console wars. But I thought those were over. Welcome back, everyone. We are here to talk about the Steam Machine today, but mostly what I want to talk about is the Steam Machine going to be a contender for the console wars, which, like I said, ended, I thought. It feels like Xbox gave up and PlayStation won, and then here comes Steam Machine walking in to surprise everyone with a twist that now all of a sudden they're gonna be part of this too. And it's quite the twist because I think they have the potential to win it all. Before we get into this, we of course are all talking about the big thing, the price tag, and I will be talking about that later in this video. But I want to know, what do you think the price of the Steam Machine should be? What would you be willing to pay for this? Let me know down in the comments. Or would you not be willing to pay for this at all? Honestly, as a gamer, this is something I have been waiting a few years for, this moment. The future of gaming, I have thought for a while now, is the PC. I love my gaming PC, and most of the time, I game on my PC these days. Now, granted, I am also a streamer. I stream live here on YouTube, and I also stream over on Twitch, but sometimes I also use an Xbox, I also use PlayStation, and I also use a Switch too. So when it comes to the range of consoles, at this point in my life, I got a lot of experience. So why do I think that the Steam Machine could be a contender for changing the future of gaming? I think for me, it's always been between PC, just because of all of the power and everything you can do, and handheld, because handheld makes gaming very accessible. I think the best handheld, maybe not the best, but the most successful handheld option we've seen for gaming so far is this thing. Your phone. That is the place where most gaming for most people is happening on handheld. And then for PC, like I said, it just packs the power. But of course, it's not super mobile. My PC is very big. I can't just bring it with me, right? Enter the Steam Machine. You could just bring it with you. It's the size of a banana in terms of how long it is. It's a small little guy. Now, we've seen portable PCs like this before. If you aren't aware, Apple actually has a line of them, and they're pretty neat. One of my friends owns one, and I was amazed the first time I saw this thing. The fact that it's a PC, but you could just put it in your bag and take it with you, I think that's super cool. Of course, the problem with an Apple PC is that it's not really known for, being great for gaming. However, Steam, what they are making with the Steam Machine is it will kind of be a console. It'll scratch that itch, but technically it is a PC. It is slated to release in Q1 of 2026, so it should be out no later than March 31st, which would be the end of that quarter. However, that's assuming there are no delays. If Valve experiences more delays for Steam Machine, then we will be seeing it later. The thing that I love about this is because it's a PC, it's probably going to be one of the most customizable consoles on the market. When it comes to the Steam Machine, I've already heard people from Steam who are working on this hardware talking about how customizable they want to make it, how there is the potential for you to really modify your Steam Machine to your preferences. They've talked about in the future having ways to upgrade and even customize your Steam Machine on your own, like you would a PC. And they've also discussed how they're going to have their own operating system, the Steam operating system, which they have worked through a lot of the bugs during their time with the Steam handheld, the Steam Deck, and that is why I feel pretty good about Steam OS coming in. I don't actually have a Steam Deck myself, but I have a lot of friends that have them, and I've heard mostly good things about them. Because they've had the time to work through the operating system through the Steam Deck, it means that when it comes to the Steam Machine, it's going to be pretty polished, and anything that we have left to polish from there is not going to really hurt the product in terms of what you can run on it and the software you have access to. That being said, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's all you can do with your Steam machine. No. Because while it will come with the Steam operating system, you will also have the opportunity to even put your own operating systems on it. I don't know why, but there have been some people that have said, well, the only thing with the Steam machine is that it's very limiting in terms of what you can use it for. Like, it's not a real PC. I'm pretty sure it's a real PC. The fact that they're allowing you to also put your own operating systems on it, I think means that what they want to do is just let you decide how you would like to game, give you more choice, give you more options. And in the interviews, when I have heard Steam talking about their approach to this new hardware that they're going to be putting out, it's really all about making sure that they're giving gamers the best experience that they can have, something that will make it easy for them to play their games on Steam, even more easier than it's ever been. And that will also help to take strain off of our PCs, because gaming has also been getting more and more demanding when it comes to the level of graphics and just how many things are running at once. So to have an external gaming system that you can use to game on and still connect to your PC, like if you're streaming, you could run it through a capture card and you could game on your computer with one PC and stream with the other PC. And that honestly sounds like an ideal scenario to me. A lot of top tier streamers actually use multiple PCs to stream because it is demanding on your system. And so if you want to make it easier, that's a great way to do it. So as a streamer, this obviously has a lot of appeal for me, but will it appeal to the common gamer who is not necessarily a streamer, and will it be affordable? A lot of what we've been talking about when I see the Steam machine come up in the news is, what is the price of this thing going to be? As of right now, we do not have a price at the time of this recording, but I have been looking into some research as to trying to figure out what I think the price will be, and I think I've come up with a pretty good answer for what I think would make the most sense, and also a pretty good ballpark for where it could fall even outside of my own estimation, because, you know, there's a lot of factors when it comes to pricing. So I'm not going to say that my price is the one. I don't actually like when people report that way anyways, because we don't know. So I don't know if my price will be the price, but I'm hoping it's the price because I think it's a pretty good middle ground. People are wondering if the effects of RAM, the demand of RAM right now with AI sort of taking all of the RAM that we have, is going to affect the price of this PC. And I personally think that when Valve was making this, it would have been in the before times, before the RAM prices went up. So they may be willing to pass those savings on to the consumer. They may have to take that into account, though, when they're pricing. But the one thing I've heard them saying is that the specs that they have for the Steam machine, if you were to build a PC with those specs, the price is going to be comparable, but competitive. They want to try to keep this price affordable for consumers. So what that means is, I would say, think about the low end of what you would be paying if you were to build a PC with similar specs. And that's probably realistically what we're going to be paying for this thing. 70% of people, according to a poll on PC Guide, said when it comes to the amount that they're willing to pay for something like the Steam machine, they said it would be between $500 to $700 USD. For me, what I think the price will be, considering the fact that we do have some components here that are probably going to be pretty pricey, but also the fact that, you know, Steam, because they're buying a lot, probably got a deal on it. Considering the fact that they said they do not want to sell their console at a loss, which is unlike other console launches we've seen in the past, which will add a little bit to the price point. Considering the fact that RAM is ramping up in terms of its cost, but also keeping in mind the fact that they said they want to make this affordable and they want it to be a competitive price for if you were to buy a PC. Like, this should be a more affordable option for most gamers. I think it's going to be around $600 USD. That's what I think the price will be. Now, that being said, it is possible, if we are saying similar to a PC, and if we are more taking into effect the costs of RAM and how that's been going up, and if they're keeping it more at the market price of what those components would cost now for you or I, with a little bit of savings, it might be more around $800 USD. I kind of looked at some of the comparable components on the market right now, and if I were to just buy them, not including memory and not including controller, it came out to around 800 USD, which would be over 1,000 in Canadian dollars, which is where I'm based. So I like to talk about the Canadian price. I know not everybody cares. I know some of you are Canadian and most of you are not that watch my videos, but I still think it's important to consider because that's very expensive for Canadians. We don't get paid more money just because our dollar is not as strong. So if it ends up being $1,100, that's going to affect how much it will sell, I imagine. Granted, we also just saw the ROG, the Xbox Ally, launch recently. And surprise, surprise, there was actually a great demand for the more expensive model of it. It actually sold better than Asus thought it was going to sell and has created more of a demand. So now they're making more to meet that demand because they sold out. And that is a product that is $1,000, I think, in Canadian. I think you're paying $1,000 plus tax. So that's pretty expensive for a handheld. And yet they made it work. You're going to buy a pre-made, or are you going to buy a Steam machine, or are you going to make your own PC? I think the cost, though, will be important because otherwise, why would you get this? I like that it's portable, though, and that is something that it has going for it that most PCs do not, because they are big, they're heavy, they're not easy to move around. Either way, I think even with the high cost of RAM, what we will most likely be seeing here is that Valve, Steam is going to try to keep these prices as reasonable as they can for us. How reasonable that will be will obviously depend on how much they paid for components, which is something we do not as of yet know. But if they are coming at this with everything, and based on the way that this has already been announced, that I feel like it's already kind of gaining steam marketing wise, it would make the most sense if they're really focused on jumping into the console competition with a big splash, really shaking things up. And to do that, you want your prices to be competitive. Granted, a lot of things for gaming right now are expensive. So to be competitive, it could still be 600 USD, and that would be very competitive, I think, in this market. I also heard rumors of Half-Life 3 launching with this console. It is going to come with its own controller. So the Steam machine will also come with the Steam controller. That'll be bundled. I don't know if there'll be options for you to not bundle it or what the plan is there to give people some more flexibility in terms of affordability. Some people have even been talking about these rumors of like having a gutted Steam machine where there'll be components missing that then you can pay extra for and add in yourself. I personally think a lot of that is pretty rumor mill hearsay, so I haven't put too much stock into that. I looked into it a little bit, but I couldn't find any super reliable sources. However, everyone has been talking about this idea of Half-Life 3 coming out at the time the Steam machine launches. Do I think that will be a thing? I think it's possible. People were saying that at the Game Awards, we might get a Half-Life 3 trailer. I didn't think that was happening, and it didn't happen, so to all my friends that were banking on that, I'm sorry that you were disappointed. I personally think when you drop Half-Life 3, you don't build up to it. I feel like if they were going to release it with the Steam machine, it should be a surprise. Like Steam machine releases tomorrow. And by the way, you can also get it Half-Life 3 with it. There's going to be a bundle available because that game, we've been waiting so long that at this point, anything else, if you give us time to hype it, people will be disappointed. Doesn't matter how good the game is. I just think you're setting yourself up for failure, in my opinion. I think it would be really cool if they did that and then they had something like an orange box variant and that was the bundle. And it's just like literally an orange box because the Steam machine is a box. I don't know. Steam, if you're listening, you can have that idea if you didn't already have it in your mind. If you have that plan, just all I ask is that you send me a Steam machine. I would love that. And I would love to give my thoughts on it once I have a Steam machine, if I end up getting one. Are you interested in it? Let me know down below. That's all I have for this one. I'll see you guys in the next video. And until then, friends, stay nerdy. Bye! And if you like when I talk about gaming, we do that here. I got videos for you.